Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and as you all have guessed today a big update to the Epstein stuff has happened. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got more files than we initially ever got in the first actual drop. So much so that going to Epstein, the actual official justice.gov/Epstein, requires you and me to age verify ourselves to access about 300 gigabytes worth of new documents. But actually, when you look closer into this, it is by far a pretty wild drop to see. So to start off with, ladies and gentlemen, obviously it dropped, I want to say like a couple hours ago. So I want to kind of like quickly go through what are the biggest drops in the situation and then sort of go on from there, all right? So this video is going to be kind of a little bit quicker. It's going to be a little dirtier. And because there's so many files, I want to take a bit more time, maybe like a week or maybe a few days really, to look through all of this for myself and pick apart more things. Because if you remember the story from last time, my big issue are apparently co-conspirators. It seems like the government is doing a really bang-up job, like trying to block this. But anyways, they couldn't block it all. So one of the first files that ended up getting released was EFTA 01660679. Now I'm going to show you all of these EFTA numbers in pretty much every file that I show you today. So you can go to justice.gov/Epstein, for instance, and look this up for yourself. So all you have to do is go to their website, go to the search full library, enter those codes in, and it'll provide you the actual relevant PDF. Now, the interesting thing about this PDF is that apparently it seems as if the government was actually trying to remove this. So as it dropped, a bunch of people said that the file was deleted and it was shortly brought back up. So obviously the Streisand effect kicks in, and I want to read through this file with you because apparently it shows about 22 allegations against the president, which I don't know if these are going to be followed up on, but it's worth looking in. So you can see right over here, they asked for, can we see the full NTALK report? I want to see the interview regarding the Alexander brother allegations. So a special agent from the Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force was actually asking for this information. So going down, you can see that obviously names, I assume, of the victim have been redacted, but closely enough, you can see that what isn't redacted is, I guess, the information the government was comfortable and keen on showing you. So to look carefully into this, obviously one of the allegations is primarily around reporting an unidentified friend who was forced to perform, disgusting acts on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told that she was approximately 13 to 14 years of age when this occurred, and the friend allegedly had bit the president, you can imagine. So yeah, obviously when they asked for the response for the claimant, they were like, spoke with the caller who identified blank as friend. Lead was sent to Washington office to conduct interview. Now, I don't know what the Washington office necessarily did, and I believe this is the FBI. Who knows? Who really honestly knows? So anytime you go further down into it, there is more. At age 16, while modeling, caller attended 8 parties at Epstein's New York residence. On one occasion, caller reported that she was assaulted by Epstein. On another occasion, 2 twin brothers lured caller and her friend upstairs, but they escaped back down. So, of course, obviously they talk more about it. Caller named other individuals involved in this big orgy party, other girls and older models, and they mentioned Bill Clinton and Donnie Trump. Okay, so together, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Okay, when it goes to the elites, it seems like they're all more alike than what one could say. So the further you go down into it, there's more information brought out into this. And that's pretty much the long and short of this situation. So there have been other situations where obviously the caller was taken by boat to Epstein's Island. Caller said it was complicated and involved Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell. Caller became a school counselor and had a meeting with the school principal, Linda Kitts, and a police officer where the caller was informed that there was pictures of herself with Epstein. Caller reported the school was mad at her for not being a Trump person and that the school wanted her to testify and say things against Andrew Cuomo. The FBI and Donald Trump were on the phone during the meetings. Caller believes the FBI has baby pictures of her with Epstein. So here the response is no contact made. Previous tips indicated blank had called in, so the victim's name, and said she had chemically induced amnesia and struggled with knowing what was a dream and reality. So in some cases, according to the follow-ups, they would not go through with them because ultimately In their mind, maybe there was nothing. Maybe the credibility of the witness couldn't be verified because of possible drug induction. So of course, obviously down the road over here, some of these individuals are reporting secondhand information, but here you can see that on various complaints, they've got the actual notable names listed here. So for instance, you've got Donald and Jeffrey, you've got Jeffrey, Jeff's wife, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton together. Really seems like Bill and Donald were like fucking hanging out, I guess, according to these like crazy allegations. You've got Donald here. So again, the further you go down this list, they've isolated exactly how many times it seems the president has, been in connection, which is honestly way too many if we're going to be completely upfront about this. But anyways, this file was basically removed off the internet. And it was removed, from my understanding, very briefly. I haven't confirmed that myself, but the government brought it back. So I'm wondering if it's maybe just a database issue, but it's really interesting that people kind of found it with this file. But ultimately, because this information is just coming out, and it's so much at one point, I'm willing to give a little bit of charitability to the government because obviously things happen as you're hosting files, and they did bring it back. But I do want to compare it to what was screen recorded by, the actual, investigators in this situation. So what is really interesting out of this too is the more I look into it, the more it shows me that the redactions just really don't make sense in some cases. So for instance, when you actually go back to the files up over here, where, this is EFTA 016-60679, on EFTA 016-60651, you can actually see that there's certain things that haven't been redacted, but you can actually see the redactions right over here. So for instance, where it's cut off on this page, where you get to the bottom, complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible, additional research shows 3 separate blank. You can actually go to this other individual or this other file and see incidents involving police which requested in mandatory psychiatric evaluation. So it feels like the government has done a pretty shit job of redacting certain documents. Like some things have redactions, but you can pull up another file where the redactions haven't been made. Now, obviously, people sharing this around, look, these are allegations. They're not complete statement of facts. And obviously, the government in some cases, or whoever's investigating this, thinks that some of these victims aren't credible because I guess they have, 3 separate incidents with psychiatric evaluations. Again, I want to know in depth why this person is incredible, okay? You can't just trust the government or the law enforcement or the DOJ when they say that. You have to have some understanding and proof of that situation too, right? Or you have to have some follow-up you can discuss. But it's interesting to me that this file was sort of like taken away for a little bit and brought back. Like, all this does is bring up the old Streisand effect, you know what I mean? And the thing is, ultimately, we have to remember too, right? When these redactions are made, they have to be made with like, there's a very narrow window that they're allowed, right? Unless things are affecting national security, you cannot blank out names unless they're specifically victims, unless they're part of an active investigation, which it seems still a very small amount of files that haven't been released by the DOJ are actually part of, I believe, a civil matter between Ghislaine Maxwell and an active court case. But you can't just be redacting all of this stuff because that's not the transparency that people wanted, right? So we're still kind of at this weird catch-22 where, like, they gave us the files, but there's still redactions that haven't been explained properly. So, ultimately, you have to wonder what still, to this point, are they hiding, right? Now, if anything, one of the big realities of this that has kind of come up is it really puts some of the U.S. oligarchs into some serious questions. So for a long time, guys like Elon Musk have said considerably that Epstein tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused. Yet they named me even before Prince Andrew, who did visit. Now, that's Elon basically saying he refused to go to the island. Now, if we look carefully in some of these files that have come out, you can see that in EFTA 027-05984.pdf, Elon Musk sends an email to Jeffrey Epstein, okay? So Elon at spacex.com, that's the email right here. Completely, this is provided by the government, by the way, too, okay? So he says, probably just Tallulah and me, which I believe is his ex-wife, what day and night will be the wildest party on, on your island, or equals our island? Like, What the fuck, man? So again, to go further into this too, there have been more emails like EFTA 003775540.pdf. God, I feel like an old man, like fucking pointing my, just use the mouse. Leslie Groff, who I believe is one of the assistants to Epstein, goes, did we need to organize Elon to your island on January the 2nd? So this is back in 2013. And, again, I don't know when the act, like, at some point you kind of have to know things are up with Epstein, because even around this time, there were some reasonable expectations to at least know that the guy was shady. But again, I believe this was obviously before, I think, his conviction. Anyways, so to go further into Larry Visosky, Larry from blank. So here it asks, in 2013, by the way, hey Larry, Jeffrey would like to make an appointment with Elon Musk in Hawthorne, California. What airport do you fly into for Long Beach, California next Monday? Is it the LAX? So of course, further down over here, you can see that again, from Mary Beth Brown to this blank, they're like, hey, and again, this is blank, shall we organize a lunch for Elon and Jeffrey to get together at SpaceX in the coming weeks? Elon is generally available at SpaceX on Monday, Thursday, and Friday each week. So again, these are people that, obviously, if Elon's saying, it's one thing to not go to an island, but like also probably shouldn't be meeting with the guy. It's just bad. But anyways, this is something that was brought up in these emails, kind of paint a different picture to what Elon had actually said, which is really not surprising given that this is fucking Elon Musk at this point. But to go over here, there's been more information that has apparently come out too. Again, a lot of the elite are brought into this story. So one email that I've kind of seen flying around, and again, this is something that I couldn't necessarily bring up, so I'm going to make this very evident. I can't give you the EFTA for this because I haven't personally seen it and verified myself. I will just try it one more time to see it, just to give you the full verification. So one of the emails over here, this is from like the Telegraph Co. They're the ones that published this, but it's in the tranche somewhere. Dear Bill, so this is apparently from Jeff to Jeff. I don't know where the message was sent to Bill. Maybe it was a different thing. But Dear Bill, I cannot believe that you have chosen to both disregard and discard our friendship developed over the last 6 years. I'm aware that accidents happen. How do you describe what happened to you to be a fucking... Okay. It is how each of us has chosen to deal with this unfortunate event that has me dismayed beyond comprehension. You have decided to discharge me from my job, had Larry, your PR person, tell me that I engaged in morally inappropriate behavior, and then asked me to be the major actor in a cover-up so that you can maintain the reputation you worked so hard to achieve. Shortly after my critical eye operation, I spent my day having your emails read to me as to not miss a beat. When I could see out of one eye, my first task was to correct my vision in that one eye so that I could read them myself. So to scroll down a little bit over here, I just want to read the meat of this email. For $30 million in today's dollars, terms and condition agreed. That's what I would have done to be in your shoes. What I did, however, receive was a unfriendly, strongly worded email telling me how employable I am and that I should not look at you for any significant financial help to the future. To add insult to injury, you then subsequently, with tears in my eyes, implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD, your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda, which is Bill Clinton's wife, and the description of your penis. So, dude, billionaire emails just fucking hit different, dude, especially like billionaires allegedly involved in sex trafficking. You also made it clear to me that I am not to refer to blank, as that is another topic, and must remain between the two of us. In return for all of these requests, which I would have done without a second thought, I am not to attend meetings with Melinda. I should continue to provide you the same level of service and dedication that I've done so diligently. And apparently the STDs he's referring to were apparently given to Bill Gates by Russian women that were probably brought in, allegedly, of course, by Epstein. So wild shit to fucking be seeing. Now, obviously, there have been more documentations brought in. Again, the point for me to sort of cover the whole triad of individuals is, it doesn't matter if you're like a Larry, or it doesn't matter if you're an Elon Musk, it doesn't matter if you're a Bill Clinton or a Donald Trump or a Bill Gates. When you're that rich and powerful and you're that connected, people are going to ask valid questions. And sometimes it seems, based on the emails and things were read, people have a reasonable suspicion to be suspect of these individuals and their kind of conduct regarding this disgusting fucking human trafficker, right? Like, it's insane that we're at this point that all of this stuff is out, and really the DOJ isn't actually putting any boots on the ground to follow up on some of these accusations, these allegations, and actually deliver justice. It's not something that, listen, to me, there is no statute of limitations on assaulting a minor. And, you know, even if there are legally a statute to that, which there shouldn't be, we've seen and read through files that allege murders in this case, which from my understanding, legally nowhere has a statute of limitations for. So why isn't the DOJ jumping onto this? I don't understand. These files are here. They have been here for a long time. They need to be followed up on. And look, I definitely can tell you there needs to be justice done here. The co-conspirators need to be hit. If the president needs to be taken down because of shit that he has allegedly done on this island that can be proven if investigations are properly done, that needs to be resolved, okay? You should never be okay. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. You should never accept people that harm children, people that are actual monsters, okay? People that are alleged monsters even like this, right? Where we're seeing so much information come out that, you know, at this point you'd have to completely bury your head in the sand and not believe anything at all or have any critical thought. We should not tolerate this in society. One of the things that also really hit me in some of these files that came out was, you know, a corrections officer had filed a tip here with the FBI. So we've seen this form before, but in cases, blank is a federal corrections officer reporting misconduct. He works in MCC, New York, which is the Metropolitan Correction Center. Blank has never seen this amount of bags of shredded documents coming out to be put in the dumpster at the rear gate of the MCC. Last week, Epstein hung himself, and there is an ongoing investigation. There was a BOP after actions team that came, and they are supposed to review what happened. Blank, there was an inmate named Blank. He is a blank worker Blank. Another inmate who works back there who helped Blank is Blank. From the same unit, he helped Blank throw the bag of shredded documents into the dumpster. Blank was bringing back bags of shredded papers, around 4 to 5 bags. So very suspicious stuff. I'm surprised the FBI didn't jump into this. Maybe they have. Ultimately, we'd have to have some level of transparency from the FBI, but that sounds shady to me, okay? Follow up on a tip like that, okay? Sounds like they're shredding documents up the ass. It's suspicious. And of course, obviously a big tip to some of the guys in the r/Epstein Reddit, because they've been looking into this as well too. They say, we have proof in the new files that Trump did something bad to little children. What happens now? Probably nothing, okay? And again, I wanted to see what proof they were going at over here, and they bring up one of these files, EFTA 00067072. And again, this is all related to Epstein's Zorro Ranch. So for instance, on 11/21/2019, Aragon received an email from blank at protonmail.com regarding 7 videos of abuse by Jeffrey Epstein at the location of 2 foreign girls buried on Zorro Ranch for sale for 1 Bitcoin. The email had a valid wallet for the funds, and the email had a deadline of yada yada yada. Again, that's a complaint, and I feel like a complaint like that talks about 2 bodies should be looked into. Maybe the FBI has, maybe they haven't, okay? Ultimately, we need that level of disclosure. Now, the thing is, if this is the document that they're referring to, it is obviously filled with the complaints. So again, be very careful when you guys say, oh, this is an absolute statement of fact. Again, these are allegations, but dude, when you listen, I'm just going to say it like this. 1 allegation is bad enough, right? But when you get up to like 10, 15, 20, at some point, I'm going to have to reasonably personally believe that the most powerful man in the executive branch of the United States government probably was a diddler, dude. Like, that's my personal, belief, all right? I'm not saying that as a statement of fact, but listen, it's just gotten to the point where there's too much bad negativity, okay? There's too much illicitness surrounding this. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to do a little bit of a quick dive into this new Epstein batch of documents. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of a deep dive as we look through more of these documents. But for now, this is the most troubling stuff. And it's troubling even more so that in some point, it seems like the government was removing the documents, but because they were being called out, all these documents ended up coming back. Again, always use a third-party site. There is a great website known as jmail.world. So again, since you can't trust the government, obviously, you can use jmail.world and look through the stuff yourself, okay? It is basically a third-party hosting of the Epstein documents. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it, I am out.